Hey guys, Max here for slurv.com and welcome to my GPP video. Today we have a split slate. We have 7 early games and 8 late games. So we'll talk about the early slate first and then touch on the late slate. Also, just a reminder, we have no pitching for tonight's 8-game slate and we have a live chat at 5 p.m. So there surely will be a ton of laughs at the guys that we suggest. So join in the fun and come hang out tonight. So let's start with Arrieta for the early slate. He's pitching today against the Cardinals offense that he has dominated over his career. Uh, for unfortunately for Arrieta, his numbers do suggest some regression is going to come. He has a 26% K rate right now, which is good, but not great, not elite like some of the guys that we expect in the 13K price range from 14K price range. Anyway, the Cardinals only strike out at like about 20% versus right-handers. So can Arrieta give you 30 points today? Sure he can. But I think we can get similar upside if we go down the list a little bit and pay down for pitching just a little. I have no idea how roster construction is going to go yet. So if you do have salary to spend, I think Arrieta is a fine option today and will have for sure a high floor. So the guys that I want to pay down for, and not that much, are Kluber and Nola. Kluber was like 5% owned against the Red Sox and was one of the highest scoring pitchers on that in that start. So he can do well against anyone. His strikeout rate dipped to 24% this year, but he's still getting 12% swing and misses on his pitches, which suggests that his K rate should bounce back to his 29% or so career numbers. Um, the White Sox offense is very hit or miss. I never play them in DFS, so due to their inconsistency. But they do have nice career numbers versus Kluber, and they seem a lot as they're in the same division. What does all this mean? I'm not sure, but I am gonna give Kluber a chance on some of my rosters today, simply due to his upside at the price. Next guy I want to talk about is Aaron Nola. He's my favorite pitcher on the slate, on every slate, but on this slate especially, because I think he's going to go well under owned. Vegas absolutely loves Detroit, so they're projected at 4.6 runs right now. I do not see them doing that well. Also, other things will lower his ownership. He's still expensive, only $300 less than he was against the Braves, and the Braves are a terrible, terrible team. Detroit is not. Detroit is top 3 in ISO against right-handed pitching, so there's definitely risk here. But I also see a lot of reward. He's got a 28% K rate against righties and a 4% walk rate for his career, and the numbers are actually better this year. So as we know, Tigers roll out a lot of right-handers. So there's definitely risk, but I think that this play can pay off big for us also. Some other guys we can use, but I'm not really sure that we should. Mats has been awesome this year, 26% K rate, 2.89 Sierra, but Nationals have been hitting really well lately, and they have the best WOBA and ISO against left-handed pitching. So I'm not sure that this is a good spot for Mats. Um, Again, I, there is merit to the play as he can definitely shut down any team that he faces just because he's that good. But there's definitely a lot of risk here also. Um, Quintana may be popular today, but I just don't play Quintana when he's at this price. Indians are pretty good against lefties, as is evidenced by their destruction of Sale yesterday. And Quintana is pitching a bit over his head, and I think he's due for a regression in his ERA that is below 2 right now. So which cheap pitchers can we use? I'm not sure I'll roster any of these guys, but the guys that did jump out, or at least crawled out at me, are Anibal Sanchez, who is like a bad version of, or a worse version of Verlander. He's a fly ball pitcher against a team that does not have a lot of power, and they hit fly balls. So that's always a good thing. He could definitely post some nice numbers here, but definitely not spectacular numbers. Jake Peavy's awful, and we love to pick on him, but he's a fly ball pitcher in a great park that suppresses fly balls and facing Padres that do not hit for any power at all. So this is also a recipe for success. Um, I'm definitely not recommending Jake Peavy as a play today, but I do think he is in play today. There's also super cheap Carlos Martinez. I just want to touch on him. He just hasn't looked good this year, and the Cubs can destroy any pitcher, as we saw with their destruction of Waka yesterday. So I do not think this is a play that should be made. I think it's a very trappy price. So let's move on to the stacks for the early slate. Let's start with the Mets. I think they make for a nice upside stack today, as they always do against a right-handed pitcher. They have a ton of left-handed power and Cespedes. So even though Rourke has been good this year, I do not see him continuing to be as good as he has. Twins against Dylan G. G allows a ton of hard contact to lefties, but I just can't recommend much left-handers from the Twins. Definitely not Joe Mauer. I will never play Joe Mauer, so there's that. I do like guys like Garcia and Grossman, so those are a couple plays that I like. I know we talked about Anibal as a play, and he is, but I don't mind taking some Phillies against him either. Herrera has been really good, and the rest of the lineup does have some upside. Not sure how popular Cubs will be today as a stack, but I like them against Carlos Martinez if they're not going to be highly owned. As we saw yesterday, Cubs have the potential to go off against anyone, and Carlos Martinez is definitely anyone. At a surface, I think Angels and Rangers look like a shootout by Vegas numbers. Two fly ball pitchers in a park that allows for fly balls to go very, very far. I do caution you that extreme fly ball pitchers are not the greatest to stack against due to the fact that they can just induce a ton of fly ball outs. If I was going to take some guys from this game, I would take Trout and Calhoun for the Angels, and Desmond Beltran, hopefully Ruiz in the lineup. I love him against left-handers. Those guys are for Texas. A couple more for you. We can definitely, I think, pick some guys against Quintana here, as, like I said, he's due for a regression in his ERA, and it could definitely start today. Indians have a ton of interesting and cheap right-handed batters, like Napoli, Lindor, and Santana, so you can give those guys a shot. Last but not least, let's talk about the game in San Francisco today. Shields gives up a ton of hard contact, and Giants make a ton of hard contact themselves. So this is a good recipe for guys like Belt, Crawford, Duffy, and Panic, and Span. They all have nice upside here, I think. I'm not going to recommend Posey just because in case Adam is watching, he would not be happy about that. Also, I know I talked about PV as a play, but if Padres are going to break out against anybody, it's going to be PV. So like guys like Wallace have very good power potential at their price. Okay, onto the night slate. I'm going to give you a brief overview here, but watch the live chat later for specific plays from all three of the experts at Slurve. So pitching, there's really just no good pitching here, but let's just make the best of what we have. Stephen Wright is the most expensive, but he's a knuckleballer with strikeout upside who's definitely going to get the win today. I have not looked at how Colorado deals with the knuckleball just yet. I will do that during the day for sure, but at surface, he definitely does have upside here. I like both of the pitchers in Atlanta today, Junior Guerra and Michael Fultinowicz, or Fulty for short. That's how the bad the slate is, that I'm recommending both of these guys. Guerra has strikeout upside, will face a pretty bad Braves lineup, although they've got a bit better since Inciarte has come up from the DL. They also have Freeman, who's always just been a great hitter. I have no problem targeting the Braves here. However, in this matchup, just because we don't have much else to look at. On the other side, you have Fulty, who was once a highly touted prospect since he's come up to the majors. He has not been good, but he has shown glimpses of coming around lately this year. I think he had an 8-inning start and a 7-inning start. He dominated the Mets at some point. so he can definitely do well against this Brewers lineup also. Um, Brewers are a weird team. I know I talked about this with Adam yesterday. They will swing and miss a lot in the zone, but they will not chase bad pitches. I have to look at Fultonowicz and how much he actually pitches in the zone. But from what I've seen so far of him this year, he does look like he's throwing a lot of strikes. So there's that. Um, I'm never going to tout this version of Scott Kazmir, but if he's the chalk pitcher tonight somehow, I'm going to say no thanks and actually target some Cincinnati against him. There's also McHugh who could be popular, but I know we didn't really want to target too many Orioles batters as you saw in the chat yesterday because Fister is a big ground ball pitcher against right-handers. McHugh's the opposite; he's a fly ball pitcher. So Orioles actually have a lot of potential for home runs today against a fly ball pitcher in a park that allows for a lot of right-handed power. So the last guy I want to talk about is Robbie De La Rosa, who's never a comfortable play, especially against Pittsburgh that just went off yesterday. But he does have great strikeout upside against right-handed batters, and Pittsburgh only rolls out two regular lefties, and one of them just doesn't hit for power in Jaso. So I do think this is a high upside GPP play here. Um, that's it, I think, for pitching. I know it's really not a lot to go on, but hopefully during the day, maybe we'll find some gems in pitching today. Onto the stacks. Tampa and the Red Sox should be most popular. Tampa's facing a bad left-handed pitcher, doesn't strike anybody out, so people have finally figured out that Tampa is really good against lefties. Guys like Geyer, Souza, Jennings, Matuk, Longoria, Pierce, Beckham, and Mater are all in place to target anyone who's in the lineup. In the Red Sox game, I like Chad Battis as a pitcher, but Red Sox just don't care who's on the mound right now. They're going to destroy everybody. So I do expect high ownership on both of these stacks, but I do think we can differentiate with pitching on a slate like today. And you don't have to spend all of your salary. I know I'm guilty of this just as anybody, but on a slate like today where pitching doesn't go above 8.8K, you can leave 1,000 or 1,500 and really make your lineup unique, even with a ton of chalky options. I like the Orioles to bounce back tonight, like I said, against McHugh. Extreme ground baller yesterday, extreme fly baller today. They could hit a couple of bombs for sure. I like the Marlins stack against Andriese and his low K percentage. He gives up a ton of hard contact to both sides of the plate, but Azuna is always goes under the radar, and Stanton finally hit a bomb yesterday. So maybe he's coming out of his slump where he was just striking out against everyone. Arizona should have put up a ton of runs on Liriano yesterday, but he just kept wiggling out of trouble even with only striking out two guys and walking and giving up a bunch of hits. Again, I like the right-handers for Arizona today against Locke, who is not a good pitcher. Beef is in play, Goldschmidt's in play, all the other righties are in play against Locke. Just remember that Pittsburgh does suppress right-handed pull power, so there is a bit of caution here also. Last but not least, I want to talk about Cincinnati righties against Kazmir. If Kazmir somehow ends up being chalk today, I love high upside stack against him. Guys like Cozart, Suarez, Duvall, Phillips, and even Votto and Bruce from the left-handed side of the plate do show a lot of upside against a guy like Kazmir. All right, I'll remember there's a chat tonight. Then it's lineup building time. I will see you all later. Peace.